Have you ever seen a man so blinded by pride that he destroyed the very woman who once prayed for his success? This is the story of Charles, a man who thought wealth made him untouchable, and Grace, the gentle woman he cast aside, only to be humbled by the very truth he refused to see. Sit back, my friends. Today, I bring you a tale of love, betrayal, shame, resilience, and redemption. A story that will remind you that pride always comes before a fall, and that truth, no matter how long it hides, will always rise to the surface. Charles was in his early 30s, tall, handsome, and wealthy. From the outside, he looked like the man every woman dreamed of. He drove the latest cars, lived in a mansion, and owned multiple businesses. But behind his polished smile was a heart full of arrogance and a soul chained to status and material things. He was married to Naomi, a gentle and faithful woman who had stood by his side through the early days of struggle. For 7 years, they lived together, praying and hoping for children. But the years went by, and the cries of a baby never filled their home. Instead of holding his wife closer, Charles grew bitter. He mocked Naomi's tears and dismissed her prayers. "You are a curse in my life," he told her one evening, his voice laced with venom. "What kind of woman cannot give her husband a child?" Naomi wept. She prayed. She even begged him to follow her for medical tests. But Charles, blinded by his pride, refused. "There is nothing wrong with me. The problem is you. Always you." His bitterness deepened until, one fateful day, he demanded a divorce. Naomi left his mansion with nothing but her clothes, her Bible, and a heart shattered into pieces. Now, let me tell you about Grace. She was a quiet woman, a strong woman, and the one Charles once called barren, a cruel nickname meant to mock her barrenness. After being discarded, she fell into despair. Nights found her on her knees, tears soaking her pillow, asking God why life had turned against her. But Grace was not the kind to remain broken forever. One day, she gathered her courage and went for medical tests. And what the doctors told her shocked her beyond words. She was perfectly healthy. Nothing was wrong with her womb. It was then she realized the truth: Charles had never tested himself. Perhaps, all along, the problem was never her. Grace chose not to live in bitterness. She started a small food business by the roadside. Day by day, she built her strength. She laughed again. She sang again. And in that season of healing, she met Edward. Edward was everything Charles was not. He was kind, patient, and full of love. He didn't care about her past or the cruel name the world had given her. He simply loved Grace for who she was. And when Grace miraculously conceived, not 1, not 2, but 3 children, triplets, Edward stood proudly by her side, his hands never leaving hers. Meanwhile, Charles had moved on quickly. He courted Angela, a beautiful young woman dazzled by his wealth. To the world, he painted himself as a victim of a barren wife, spreading lies about Naomi and Grace, while boasting about starting a new family with Angela. But deep down, Charles lived in fear. For in secret, he had discovered the truth: he was infertile. No doctor's report could be hidden from his own conscience. But instead of facing the truth, he buried it under pride and deception. He planned something vile. He decided to invite Grace to his wedding with Angela, not to reconcile, but to disgrace her publicly. "Let her see what she lost," he boasted to his friends. "Let the world know I have moved on." But what Charles didn't know was that Grace was no longer the broken woman he once mocked. She was now a mother. She was now strong. She was now whole. The day of the wedding arrived. The hall was filled with important guests, wealthy businessmen, friends, and family. Charles walked in with Angela on his arm, wearing his arrogance like a crown. He was sure this was the day Grace would be humiliated once and for all. But then, the doors opened. And in walked Grace, her head held high, her steps graceful and confident. And beside her were 3 little children, triplets, all looking like the very image of innocence and joy. The crowd gasped. Whispers filled the hall. "Is that not Grace? But she has children." Charles froze. His smile vanished. Angela's hand slipped from his arm as she turned to him, her eyes wide with suspicion. Grace did not come to shame him. She came to reclaim her dignity. Standing tall, she looked Charles in the eyes and said, "You called me barren. You called me cursed. But here are the fruits of my womb." The curse was never me. The room erupted. Guests murmured, "Is that in between Charles and Grace?" And then came the final blow. Angela demanded to see Charles's medical records. The truth could no longer hide. Charles, the proud man who once mocked his wives, was infertile all along. Angela tore off her veil and stormed out, leaving Charles humiliated before the entire world. From that day, Charles's reputation crumbled. Business partners withdrew. Friends abandoned him. The man who once stood tall in pride was now bent under the weight of his shame. But Grace. She walked out of that wedding with her children and Edward by her side, her dignity restored. She had learned that her worth was never in the opinion of men, but in her own truth and in God's grace. And so, my friends, this tale reminds us that pride and lies can never stand for long. You see, Charles thought wealth and status could cover his flaws, but pride destroyed him. Grace, on the other hand, chose resilience, faith, and truth. And in the end, she triumphed, not by revenge, but by walking in her dignity. Always remember this: a lie may run for years, but truth needs only one day to catch up. Thank you for watching this powerful story. If you were touched by Grace's journey and the lesson in Charles's downfall, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, talk about it, and let others learn. And before you go, my friends, please, don't forget to like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to this channel for more unforgettable folktales. Until next time, keep standing for truth.